What's going on, YouTube? Mr. Wheels here, once again, bringing you another episode of Sports Talk. And you know, July 1st every year marks a special day in the world of hockey. It marks the beginning of NHL Free Agent Frenzy. Well, that's what TSN calls it. And I want to do a recap of day one of the Free Agent Frenzy, as well as a pre-Frenzy, some moves that were made before July 1st. But these are not all the moves. I will put a link in the description box below, and you can check out every signing that was made. It's just too much to get through all of them. But before I get into that, please like this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please follow me on Twitter at SledgeHead86 and like my Facebook page, Mr. Wheels86. I could really use the support. I'd really appreciate it. So let's get started. At the draft, the Florida Panthers took Aaron Ekblad first overall. They did not trade the pick. There was speculation that they were going to. It did not happen. The Florida Panthers are going to have a great defense core for years to come, and especially next year if you consider Ekblad, if he makes the team, Dmitry Kulikov, Eric DeBranson, Ed Jovanovski. I mean, those are four guys right there, right? So they're going to have a great defense core. Vancouver, around the same time in the draft, traded Ryan Kessler to Anaheim for Nick Bonino, Lucas Spiza, and they also acquired Derek Dorsett from the New York Rangers. The LA Kings then re-signed Marian Gaborik to a 7-year deal worth $34 million. And Tampa Bay also signed Ryan Callahan to a 6-year deal. It's probably worth about $30 to $35 million. I forget what it was worth, but that would be my guess. Edmonton acquired Nikita Nikitin from the Columbus Blue Jackets, and right before, like a day or two before the draft, Colorado traded P.A. Parenteau to Montreal for Danny Briere. Tampa Bay acquired Sam Gagner in a trade, and that was in exchange for Teddy Purcell. Now, right before the draft, there were some players put on waivers. Toronto put Tim Gleason on waivers. This was in an attempt to try to get Josh Georges. It backfired on the Leafs, and I'll get to that, more on that in a minute. Anton Volchenkov was put on waivers by New Jersey. And Calgary also put Shane O'Brien on waivers. Now, to start out, getting into what happened on the first day of Free Agent Frenzy, it kind of starts the same way that the trade deadline day did, with Ryan Miller on the move once again. He went to St. Louis on trade deadline day. He's not in St. Louis anymore. He signed a 3-year, $18 million deal with Vancouver, and Vancouver once again has a solid, proven goaltender. Although he's not very proven in the playoffs, he hasn't won a Stanley Cup yet. But he's an NHL veteran, is my point. Paul Stastny, another big free agent name, signed a 4-year, $28 million deal with St. Louis. I think they got him for a steal. I mean, he is going to be a pretty big cap hit, but I think that's a pretty fair price. Now, Washington made a huge splash on defense, signing Matt Niskanen to the richest contract of the day, $40.25 million for 7 years. And they obviously didn't learn anything from what New York just had to do with Brad Richards. They may have to buy Niskanen out in a few years. But, so be it. Washington wasn't done. They signed Brook Orpik to a 5-year, $27 million deal. So, when you add Niskanen and Orpik to with Carlson and Green and Alsner, I mean, Washington is going to have an even better defense core than Florida. These guys are all veteran guys. They all have NHL experience. They're going to be a team to watch. Let's hope. Thomas Vanek is also on the move once again, signing a 3-year, $19.5 million deal with Minnesota. And now, and he's leaving Montreal, but Montreal was quite busy on this day. They trade Josh Georges not to Toronto, like Toronto wanted them to, but to Buffalo for a 2016 second round pick. Georges wouldn't go to Toronto. He said it would be too emotional for him to go to Toronto. I think he was just being a crybaby. He gets paid millions of dollars. It shouldn't matter where he plays hockey, but whatever. Let him go to Buffalo. Brian Giunta will be joining Josh Georges in Buffalo. He signed a 3-year, $12.75 million deal with the Sabres. And I said Montreal was busy on this day. They signed Manny Malhotra to a 1-year, $850,000 deal for the year. Tom Gilbert also signed in Montreal for 2 years, $5.6 million. So hopefully that will help with the replacement of Josh Georges. Not really, but it's a start. Mike Weaver also re-signed with Montreal, 1 year, $1.775 deal for the year. Now, the Toronto Maple Leafs did not get Josh Georges, so they signed Stefan Robida for 3 years at $9 million, which isn't too bad. It's not great, but it's not a horrible signing. Now, this is where I get a little bit pissed off. The Leafs trade Jerry DeMigo to Columbus. That's fine. Jerry DeMigo really didn't pan out in Toronto, but they get Matt Fratton back in return. Like, what the fuck was that? And they gave up a draft pick to get him back. So Jerry DeMigo and a draft pick for Matt Fratton. Not a good deal for Toronto. They follow that up by welcoming back Leo Komarov, who is a good, gritty player. Toronto needs some grit. That's fine. They signed him for 4 years and $11.8 million. No, 2 years maximum I could see, but this is Toronto for you. This is why I'm not a Toronto fan. I follow the Leafs. I like to make fun of the Leafs because they do stupid shit like this, but I don't like these signings. They let Dave Bolland, former Leaf now, signs 5 years, $27.5 million with the Florida Panthers. Now, Toronto wasn't willing to give him that much money. They were willing to give him, 4 or 5 years at, $23, $24 million. And, maybe it's best that he left. But then you've got guys like Jerome McGinley signs a 3-year, $16 million deal with Colorado. Where was Toronto on that deal? Jonas Hiller signed a 2-year, $9 million deal with Calgary. That's great for the Calgary Flames. They finally have a solid goaltender. Not that I didn't like Kari Ramo and Joey McDonald, but Jonas Hiller has some playoff experience. He's a proven NHL goaltender. This is a huge signing for Calgary. Sticking with Calgary, they signed defenseman Derek England to a 3-year, $8.7 million deal. I don't really like the numbers in that deal. I think they overpaid for him for 3 years, but he's going to help Calgary out. This is where it kind of gets a little unfortunate for Calgary. Mike Camilleri, leaving Calgary again, signed a 5-year, $25 million deal with the New Jersey Devils. Now that's great for New Jersey, but there's another guy for Toronto. They could have went after him around the money that they wanted to give Dave Bolland, and he went to New Jersey. Like, wake up, Toronto. I know I'm picking on the Leafs, but I mean, there's a lot of deals that they could have had instead of going after Josh Georges the way they did, a guy that didn't want to come to Toronto. Now, getting into the last of the deals, Benoit Pouliot signed a 5-year, $20 million deal with the Edmonton Oilers. The Oilers also signed defenseman Mark Fane to a 4-year, $14.5 million deal. That's good for Edmonton. You know, they got some offense, they got a solid defenseman. They're moving in the right direction. Let's get into what Ottawa did. They re-signed Milan Michalek to a 3-year, $12 million deal. This is an aging guy. He's been all right in Ottawa. He hasn't put up huge numbers. So $12 million, I don't know whether I would have given him $12 million and 3 years. I probably would have, to me, if they would have signed him for like 2 years and $8 million, that would have made a little bit more sense. Worst news for Ottawa fans, if you don't know already, they traded captain Jason Spezza to the Dallas Stars for Alex Chiasson, Nick Paul, and Alexander Golip, I think is how you say that. Now, the Nick Paul and Alex Golip are prospects. Alex Chiasson is a current NHLer, and it's a 1-year lease for the Dallas Stars. So that's not, they could have got more. They could have got, who they got and a draft pick, but it's only 1 year that he's going to be in Dallas before he's a free agent. So don't be too sad, Ottawa fans. It's not that bad. Ales Hemsky is going to be joining Spezza in Dallas, and they had some chemistry in Ottawa. Hemsky signs a 3-year, $12 million deal with the Dallas Stars. Brad Richards. I did a video about a week ago on Brad Richards being bought out by the New York Rangers. Richards signed a 1-year deal worth $2 million with the Chicago Blackhawks. So Chicago didn't get Ryan Kessler, but they got a pretty good center who might not be a first-line center anymore, but he is definitely a good signing for Chicago, and will give them some depth behind Jonathan Toews for sure. Now here's a surprising signing. Matt Moulson, leaving Minnesota. They looked like they were a team that was going to be on the rise, and Matt Moulson decided to leave and sign a 5-year deal worth $25 million with the Buffalo Sabres. It's a great signing for Buffalo because Buffalo was also coming back, getting some players again and looking to be like they could be a playoff team next year. But I'm surprised that Moulson did not stay in Minnesota. Now, Dan Boyle, who his rights were traded from San Jose to the Islanders before the NHL entry draft and before free agency, before July 1st, signed a 2-year, $9 million deal with the New York Rangers. How pissed off are New York Islander fans going to be that Dan Boyle snubbed them, thumbed his nose at the New York Islanders and signed with the rival Rangers? Sticking with defenseman Christian Ehrhoff, signed a 1-year, $4 million deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, there was a lot of guys leaving the Penguins, especially defensemen. So Pittsburgh getting Ehrhoff may only be 1 year, but it's a good signing. Anton Stroman is leaving the New York Rangers and going signed a 5-year deal worth $22.5 million with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, I think this may be another case of a guy that might be needed to be bought out in a few years. $22 million, $22.5 million to be exact. I could see, maybe 20, but not 22. That's a little bit too much. Matthew Perreault is leaving Anaheim and signed a 3-year deal worth $9 million with the Winnipeg Jets. This is another guy the Leafs could have went after. And, I don't think Anaheim is so much a winner with the Kessler deal because they gave up a lot to Vancouver to get Kessler, and they've got so now they lost Nick Bonino and Matthew Perreault, guys that they could have put him with. They still have some prospects, some young up-and-coming guys that they can put Kessler with, but they've definitely lost some depth. And the final signing I'm going to talk about, Jussi Jokinen signed a 4-year, $16 million deal with the Florida Panthers. So the Florida Panthers, big winners, signing Jokinen and Bolin, and of course they got Ekblad, and they're looking good. So, as I said earlier at the start of the video, 75 plus players moved on day one, and over a half of a billion dollars was spent in just one day. Guys, I know this has been a long video. I hope you stayed with me for as long as you could. I'm hoping to make this a 5-part series, and in about a week's time, if there's been some significant moves, I will do part 2 of NHL Free Agent Frenzy. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.